Lily James is an Emmy nominee for her portrayal of Pamela Anderson in the Hulu limited series Pam and Tommy. I'm Denton Davidson, senior editor for Gold Derby. Congratulations, Lily. I mean, this is an incredible moment. It's your first Emmy nomination. So can you tell us, how did you hear the news? What was that day like? Walk us through the moment.
So I sort of like almost purposefully by accident, but maybe more purposefully organized a massage for that exact time. And so I was concerned I wouldn't be able to relax, but somehow I did. And I had this wonderful massage, and then I had a sauna, and I was sort of avoiding having to just like acknowledge, whatever might have happened. And then I got back to the locker room and I got my phone out and it had just blown up. And the first message I read was from Sebastian, and to have shared this moment with him, and then to have found out that the show and Seth and hair and makeup, it was just such a shared celebration. So it made it much sweeter. And then yeah, had room service and just my brother had just got married. It was just a brilliant few days.
Yeah, 10 nominations, including Best Series,
Yeah.
and like you mentioned, Sebastian Stan. Were you able to all celebrate together at some point, or was it just texts and phone calls?
Just texts and phone calls. Unfortunately, I was in France for my brother's wedding, and I'm in England, and they're away. Sebastian's busy working, doing something really cool, and so we haven't really got to, but we will, on the night, which is so great. Like regardless of anything that happens, we can all be there together and share in that moment. And yeah, I felt really proud, really honored, very overwhelmed. It was really great moment. I couldn't believe it.
you know, let's go back and talk about how you were pulled into this role and how you became aware of the project. Because, I mean, you may not have been what most people thought of as the first choice of Pamela Anderson. You looked really differently. So, what brought you into the role and what excited you the most?
Well, initially, I was just so blindsided by this thought of me playing Pamela Anderson. I was just so shocked, like the rest of anyone that heard my name attached to it. So that triggered my intrigue and my imagination. I started like watching interview after interview and couldn't help but start like feeling her mannerisms and the way she would laugh at herself, or the way she would like handle pressure, or it just felt really intriguing to me. And I thought there was so much there to explore, and also then relate to myself and how I feel as a woman in the business, in the industry. And then once I read the scripts, I was just blown away by what they really explore beyond what I thought, and this real story, and this story that people tended not to know, the truth of what really happened. Um, and then Craig Gillespie was directing, and so it was just everything became more and more that I felt like in these hands we could really do something with this. And I knew, and once I really tested and understood everyone's intentions and everyone who was really investing their hearts and their it felt like it was in the right hands. And that, coupled with these scripts and this challenge as an actor, just felt intoxicating, really. Yeah.
And we talked about the Emmy nominated hair and makeup team. They're
Mm.
incredible here. How
Oh.
long does it take you to become Pamela on a daily basis? And then once you are in that, prosthetics and everything, does that help you get into character, or does it hinder you from emoting with your face? What is that like?
Oh, it just helped. It helped on every level. It's tough because it took 4 hours in the morning, but I would not only when you look in the mirror and you don't see yourself anymore. I had a prosthetic forehead, I had teeth, I had eyes, contact lenses, I had hair, I had boobs a lot of the time. Not all the time, thank God, because it just took so, so long. But um, it just was so freeing to look in the mirror and just see someone else. And then all through the 4 hours in the morning, I would watch videos of her and start doing, she speaks really fast. So I would have these vocal exercises, like lips, teeth, doing all these like rhythms and rhymes, and have this amazing vocal coach, Liz Himmelstein, who would be with me in the morning. So it would take like 4 hours for me to like spiritually and physically get there, as well as, the prosthetic. Recently I just did a film where I was in the makeup chair for 5 minutes and I just never felt ready. I was like, but I need 4 hours now to like really be ready for anything. So it was all useful.
When you disappear into a role like that, I mean, do you find yourself like out ordering a coffee and then realize you're talking in your Pam voice?
Oh, I still do it. It's a nightmare. And I bought a blonde wig. So I'm actually blonde now for something else, but at the time I had dark brown hair. So I would go around in a blonde wig that I bought, because I just felt like I needed to hold on to her a little bit. The difference from me to her was too extreme to like go back and forth. So I had to stay in this like middle no man's land of like Lily Pamela most of the time. Um, but yeah, I would totally slip into her voice. And I think since then I've lost lots of jobs because I keep speaking like Pamela in any audition. So yeah, it does take a while, and but like working in that intense way and being so being so all in is really the only way I want to work now. It's so exhilarating, and so rewarding. So yeah, I kind of got the bug.
What's the most difficult thing about playing not only a real person, but someone that's still alive? They're still in the public
Mm.
eye. I mean, are you worried about how she'll perceive you, or are you worried about, what's the most concerning thing for you as an actor?
All of it. It's morally and wanting to do someone justice and feeling like you could ever possibly have the right to tell someone's story or to own someone. It's such a confusing big conversation, and it was something that I wore heavily, and I still think about it. I still like hope and pray I did her justice, and I eventually just had to trust in knowing my instinct and my intentions were so good, and I wanted to share a story that people maybe weren't aware of. I wanted to look at how women are treated. I wanted to examine the awful double standards and what these violations really do to people, and I wanted to be a part of a conversation where we really look at those things. But I felt like I was constantly walking this tightrope of, as a very like empathetic human and as someone who feels insecure and like I shouldn't be doing that. Like it was just a constant conversation, but I feel like at least I was having that, at least I cared. And I know that everyone involved in the show felt very similarly. And I know that Sebastian did. So as long as I felt we were taking care of it, but it was hard, and I wouldn't rush to do it again. Um, and I think whenever you play a real person, whether you meet them, whether they're involved or not, it all offers a different challenge and problem that you have to overcome. Um, and you have to commit eventually. You have to go for it. You said yes, you're doing it, so you have to go all in. So, but it wasn't always easy. Sort of, and I felt like as the woman in it, as only representing Pamela, but being, it was a very sort of that we had these amazing female directors come in, but I really felt like I needed to be powerful and strong and use my voice and make sure that I owned this. So yeah.
What did the role in general represent to you? And what has Pamela Anderson taught you? I mean, that you maybe thought you wouldn't have learned from her?
I've learned this incredible wit and humor and way that she could use that and like not laugh at herself, but own her strengths and use that to sort of, it's such a power and a grace to that. And also she's always, from my perspective, watching her, she's always used attention, good or bad, to get across her narrative or her charities. She now has like her foundation and working with Peter. And it feels like that's something she instinctively did from the word go, like had a great inner strength and humor to like deal with being a woman in this industry, and particularly then in the 90s and the kind of brilliant, mad chaos and all of that. And I find that deeply inspiring and powerful. And there's so much I've learned. A rebellion, not conforming. I really think that's the thing. I really admire her.
Yeah.
So yeah.
were there interviews that you watched that you were most impressed with, or most sort of, I mean, we see the Jay Leno movie in this interview in the series. It's just sort of cringeworthy now. I mean, watching it in 2022, how many interviews
Yeah.
did you watch? And did you sort of get an idea of what it was like to be her at that time?
Yeah, I did. I mean, it's very different looking at these stories now through a modern lens and moving through what we've been through, but just the ways questions are asked, the relentless kind of like sexism and like it's just like, I don't know how you would survive that, but you do. And she does it with such grace, maintaining the power. I'm so impressed. And but there was an amazing moment where I think she was always playing with people's expectations of her and subverting that, and in her documentary, there's this amazing moment where she sort of is like all laughing and talking, because she's a businesswoman, she's sort of created an empire around herself, and she sort of like, it's all like laughter, and someone patronizes her and she really like cuts it, and she's really like, I don't like how you're talking to me. And it's so quick and it's so impressive. So it's those surprising moments where you're like, whoa, that I found really intriguing. Yeah.
And what was your most enjoyable moment on set, and just working with Sebastian for the first time? I mean, you guys weren't familiar with each other. So, what was that chemistry like, and what was just the vibe that you had on set?
I can't explain how exciting it was working with Sebastian. He is so challenging in like the best sense of the word, like that in quotes. I found Sebastian challenging sounds bad, but I mean it in the best way. Like, he's always making you better. He's pushing for the truth. He's pushing for the opposite of what you think scenes should be, in a way that is so inspiring and made me better every day. And my favorite stuff was just when we would have long scenes and they wouldn't cut, and we could just go and, almost like a play, let the momentum of a scene take hold, be really vulnerable with one another, and make sure that our instincts weren't being suppressed by a characterization of these people. And that was a difficult balance, like feeling that you wanted to stay in the voice and the thing. You're like, this is what I've learned about this person, but I really want to be spontaneous and instinctual in the moment. And but filtering it through someone else's habits and behavior. And Sebastian was really good at reminding me of that. And we're going to do some more stuff together, and I can't wait, because I think we've got a really good working, playful dynamic, and it was sort of existed straight away. And it makes acting really fun. Yeah.
And, we said earlier, this is your first Emmy nomination. Is there anyone that's nominated from any other shows? Because we know your team is going to all get together and celebrate, but from any other shows, whether it's limited series, comedy, or drama, is there anyone you're looking forward to meeting, or any cast that you'd be looking forward to meeting at the Emmys?
My friend Himesh Patel is nominated for Station 11. I've just started watching that show. I think it is extraordinary, and I'm so excited that we're both nominated in the same year. I think Zendaya, what she's done in Euphoria and how brave and raw her performance is very inspiring. I think it's such an incredible year. I mean, I think some of the female I think Amanda Seyfried is just like, she's a great friend, and she's like, well, we did Mamma Mia together, so we've worked together, and I just think she's amazing. I loved Yellow Jackets. I think the actors in that are just so brilliant. I honestly just think it's so cool that it's going to say Emmy nominated actress. Like, I'm like, that's cool enough for me now, that I can like live on that. And to sort of, I did this Hollywood round table, like, and I got to like talk to these actresses that you would never usually meet, and hear how they deal with like letting a character go at the end of the day, or how you cope with, different things, and just getting to have like those conversations with people that you admire is pretty great. So yeah.
Well, Lily James, congratulations on your Emmy nomination. Best of luck to you. For everyone watching, head over to goldderby.com, make your own Emmy predictions, and check out more interviews with this year's nominees. And Lily, pleasure to speak with you.
Yeah, you too. Thank you so much.